Hello, third graders. This is Mr. White here, and you have found lesson 1.6. Today, we're going to begin what is a 2-day lesson, right? So, part one of 1.6, which is what you're watching, and part two. So, when we have these 2-day lessons, and if you've been in Perry Township before, you've had those before, right? Remember that we might not figure out the entire problem that we're going to work on later in one sitting. And so we're going to do our best and we're going to continue working on it tomorrow. Um, the topic today is going to be about elapsed time. Now, you're probably not familiar with that word, but elapsed means the amount of time that passes from the start of an event to its finish, right? So the start to its finish, this is how much time has elapsed. So we're going to start today by looking, here's our objective. I will be able to determine the amount of time that elapsed. And you can see that time is mentioned in our third grade standards that all of the students in Indiana learn. So first thing you need to do is to find page 12 in your math journal. You're going to be writing in this. So don't continue the video without page 12, please. All right, so you're on page 12 now with me. Let's take a look at this, all right? Because what we're going to do here is do a lot of thinking together, and then you'll have a problem that's similar but somewhat different to do on your own a little bit later. Okay, so our math message. Sheena's math class began at 9:55 a.m. and ended at 11:10 a.m. She started to figure out how long the class lasted. She used a number line, right? So you can see what she's drawn here. And this then says, use Sheena's number line to complete the problem. Tell the length of time in hours and minutes. So math class lasted how many hours and how many minutes left over? Well, I'm going to look at what she did here. I'm going to use a little highlighter guy that I have up here to talk through this with you, right? So how many full hours? Well, I can see that this chunk right here was 1 hour, okay? And there are no more hours. And when I add these two up, they're not going to be 60 minutes either. Remember, there are 60 minutes in an hour. So her math class lasted for over an hour. So that's our first thing that we're going to write. So everybody's going to write that right here. Let's see if I can get it in the box. Pretty close. 1 hour. And then how many extra minutes? So I'm going to put those in a different color. Well, this part was 5 minutes. And then this part was 10 minutes. So if I add those two up, I will get the total amount of minutes. 10 plus 5 is 15, right? 15 minutes. Now, if that number had been over 60, then I could have made another hour out of those and had some extra minutes left over. But her math class lasted 1 hour and 15 minutes. Be sure to write it down. All right, now you're going to explain Sheena's strategy to your partner. So I'm your partner. We're going to explain what she did. And we're going to use some keywords that we're going to be using all year long. And these are sequence words, words like first and next and then. That's going to be so important here in math. So what did she do first? First, I'll make it a little smaller. I'm going to run out of room. Sheena drew a line. Right? That's what she did first. She drew this line from here to here. Then she wrote the starting time. Okay, that's what she did first here, right? 9:55. She wrote that first. I'm sure of it, right? Because that's where she was starting, and she knew where she had to get to. Okay, so see how we've written this, and you're writing this down here. you need to press pause on the video so you have plenty of time to write, absolutely, you can do that. Okay. Let's use the word next. We could use the word then. Next, she made jumps, and I'm going to talk about those jumps in a little bit. Jumps until she was at the ending time. Oop, went off the board there, went off my page. Okay, so that's the third step. And then her last step, right? What she did last. So finally, she is what we did, right? She counted up the hours and minutes. Right? So you can see that this is a longer answer. Okay, when we're asked to explain a strategy, we're going to say first and next and then, and you could use other words like last and second, and words that help us to keep the order of the things that she did. So now I told you I'd talk about the jumps, so let's do that. Right? So what tool did she use? She used the number line. We're going to talk about how she might have used a clock in just a minute. So questions about the jumps. How did Sheena start her number line? Right? She marked the starting time. We just mentioned that. What does her first hop? So this hop, this jump, what does that represent? Well, it represents how there are 5 minutes until 10 o'clock, right? She wanted to get to that friendly time, that 10 o'clock, right? Which is really easy to deal with. So she made a 5-minute jump. Then what did she write above the hops? She wrote the length of time. See, 5 minutes. Let's keep going. I'll scroll down to see my other questions here. Let's move this down. Ooh, I turned it yellow. Okay, how did you find the total time? Well, what we skipped here, then her next jump was from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock, right? That was 1 hour. She didn't make all 5-minute jumps, right? 5, 10, 15, 20. That would take forever. So she went with these friendly times that are easy to deal with. From 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock, she made a big jump. And then she had a smaller jump from 10 o'clock to 11:10. Now, if she had to go to 12 o'clock, she would have made another hour jump, and she'd have had over 2 hours. So, and then to find the total time, just like we did earlier, we are going to figure out how many hours and how many minutes she has written up here all together. Okay. All right. So let's imagine that we were going to use a clock to solve this problem. Do you think we could use a clock to solve this problem? We can. And I want to show you, I taught you last week how to use I'm in the everyday math, right? The McGraw-Hill, I'm in the e-toolkit, those tools that we showed folks how to use. And I've started by putting this time at her starting time, 9:55. That was the problem from that's the time from the problem. And then if we went up to 10 o'clock, right? Just like that first jump, maybe I would draw that clock. That's been 5 minutes so far. Then we could go up. Our next jump was an hour. So all the way around. And while that was happening, this would have gone up to 11 o'clock. So now I'm at 1 hour and 5 minutes. And then I would need to go up 10 more minutes to get up to 11:10. And why 11:10? Well, because that was the problem that was mentioned. That was the time that was mentioned in the problem, right? When she stopped at 11:10. So you can use the number line. I honestly think, if you're asking me for my opinion, the number line is a lot easier to deal with when you're figuring out elapsed time. But if that clock really makes sense for you and you want to draw different clocks on your paper, you can certainly do that. What do you think? What do you like better so far? Do you like this number line system? Or are you planning to draw some clocks on your paper when you have your problem? All right, so whichever way is working best for you. And if one way is not working, you might kind of change and decide to do something else. So here's today's problem. And this, unfortunately, is not in your math journal. I wish it was. So we have two possible solutions. I'm going to send a link that if you do have a printer and you want to print this out, you could write on it after you print this out. If you don't have a printer, that's fine. I'm going to send you that link and you'll be able to see the page, and you're going to write your answers on a separate sheet of paper. So nobody's going to send me a message that says I don't have a printer, so I can't do my work. Okay, you have two choices. You can either print it out, or you can look at it on the screen and write your answers on a separate sheet of paper. So here's what we have here. How long is a morning? You're going to write the times. Now, these are going to be different for everybody depending on when you are starting and when you are eating lunch, right? Everybody is in, if you're at home, you have different times for these things. So you're going to ask, and you might have to ask mom or dad, what time do I get started with my work? And what time do we go eat lunch? And your job is to do what we saw Sheena do in that other problem. Use at least one strategy to find out how long you are in school in the morning, right? How long you're doing your schoolwork in the morning. Show how you solve the problem. So what am I expecting to see down here? You could either draw a number line or clocks. And then down here, look how much space you have, right? We want to use a lot of this space. We're going to see what you've written down here, right? First, what did you do? Then, what did you do? Next, what did you do? Okay. And if this is confusing, I want you to just do your very best on it today. And we'll be coming back to this tomorrow. Remember, we said that this is a 2-day lesson. So you might not get everything exactly right, but I'd like to see a really good start from you on this problem. You're going to be holding up your work. Since it's not in your math journal, when you turn in your work, you can either hold up the pages that you printed off if you did that, or you can hold up the piece of paper that you were working on this problem. Um, you can hold that paper up for me to see. So, all right. So don't get, like I said, we're working on this 2 days. So I want to see you get a really good start. You can look back in the video and in your math journal if you want to see the strategies we were talking about earlier. All right, guys, that is all. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to me, and good luck.